go ahead with the next question. That is, what is an API auto discovery? So we know, right? I mean, with the help of this concept, we'll be able to pair the API or the API specification in API manager and the application that we deploy to the runtime manager, right? We can pair them, and we can secure the APIs through the API manager. Okay. Um, and how can you register an API in API manager? So this is one of the interview questions. It is very similar or close to the previous question. So yeah, you have to use API ID and the client ID and client secret of any point platform specific environment. If you are deploying to dev environment, you have to get the any point platforms devs client ID and client secret, or to if you are deploying to staging or test environment, you have to get the corresponding client ID and client secret along with the corresponding API ID or auto discovery ID. Okay, and all these three things you have to pass in the runtime manager or to the application as inputs while you are deploying your Mule applications to the runtime manager, and then um, it will be registered in the API manager, or the API will be turned into active mode. So we'll see a common demo for both the questions. Now, okay. Now this is the simple as I have imported this, right? I did not do any further implementation. So apart from changing the movies to, I have simply added this one. Now what I will do, um, okay, let me add a, yeah, we have to add API auto discovery here, and we have to point this to the main uh, main flow where we'll get the requests. Okay, so that is bms sapi main, and here let's put this property as api.id. Okay, click on OK. Now save it. So what we can do, um, let me copy this one. I'll put it in a notepad. Yeah, so let me create a jar file out of this. Click on export. What I will do, I'll save this on the desktop. Finish. Now let's go to the runtime manager of the Anypoint platform. Uh, Before this, right, what I will do, you can get the corresponding environments client ID and client secret in the API manager itself. So because I will be deploying to the sandbox, so I'll get the client ID and client secret of the sandbox environment. So this is the client ID, copy, and you can copy paste there, and client secret, that is this one. So all these things, and you also have to pass API ID. So for that we have to create an entry in the API manager. So click on add a new API, and for now you can choose Mule gateway. Click on next, and this is the API that I was showing you. I have published this to the exchange. You see this one, bms-sapi, and the version is 1.0.0. So select this and click on next for the time being. Next and finish. Save. Okay. Now we got API instance ID. So this instance ID you can copy, and what you can do, you can pass this through the runtime manager. Okay, so we are good till here. Now go to the runtime manager and go to sandbox, because we have created API in the API sandbox API manager, right? So we have to deploy this application in the sandbox only. Now let me put a name to this application like EMS-31st. Okay, yeah, all good. Now I'll deploy to the Cloud Hub 1.0. So click on choose file, upload file. this the SAPI? Now in the properties, right, what you can do, you can pass all these properties. So once you deploy this application, right, what happens is that so for the time being, the API is not registered. It is in the unregistered state. Now, once it gets deployed, right, successfully, this will be successfully registered, or it will become active. It will turn into green in color. See, it turned into active mode. It took some time. Not sure what was the reason. But now this way we can register our API in the API manager. So um, this particular question is answered. Now let's go ahead with this one, and let's talk a bit on this. So by using this API auto discovery concept, right? So we are able to, uh, we are able to pair the API interface or the API specification and the API implementation that we deployed in the runtime manager.